Earlier today, I heard that a friend of mine, Lars Larson, had the father of the Navy SEAL Tyrone Woods, one of the Navy SEALs that was killed in Benghazi, on the phone. And I listened to him. And the guy seems apolitical on this. It's about his son and the truth. Now, he's had a remarkable experience. Not only is his son a hero, and he is, and I'll explain that here in a minute, but also he's had a remarkable experience because when they brought his son home, his body, he was there at Andrews Air Force Base and had a chance to talk to President Obama and Hillary Clinton. Charles Woods is on the phone with us now. Charles, how are you, sir?
Thank you, Glenn. First of all, I want to say you are a man of integrity, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry that we are talking in these circumstances, and I feel strange because I've been... You listen to the show, and do you watch the show or just listen to it?
Well, by way of background, as you know, my family and most of the families involved had made the decision not to make public statements. I hadn't listened to your show, quite frankly, for several months. Sorry about that, Glenn.
That's all right.
But over here in Kona the other morning, I just happened to, at random, listen to your voice. And you released the information that the White House, within minutes of the attack, watched in real time the events unfolding. They denied the pleas for help, and they watched my son die. As a result of that, when I got back to the condo, I tried to call you. Sorry, you didn't answer. No. And instead I called Lars Larson, since I have been from the Portland area.
I'm glad you got a hold of somebody. I honestly, we didn't reach out to any of the family members because I'm not going to intrude.
Thank you for your best.
And but I will tell you that I heard your story today, and I was quite amazed because I mean, the first part, when you talk about being with President Obama that day, maybe somebody can misread it, and maybe he was being awkward or whatever. But tell your point of view and your perspective on when you met President Obama.
Okay, as you probably know, I'm a retired attorney. For 6 years, I was an administrative law judge, and during the several thousands of cases that I heard, my job was to decide who was telling the truth and who wasn't. You heard the clip that I said that there were 4 pods at Andrews Air Force Base with the 4 different families, and when he finally came over to where we were, I could tell that he was a rather conflicted person who was not at peace with himself. And, he shaking hands with him, quite frankly, was like shaking hands with a dead fish. His face was pointed towards me, but he would not look me in the eye. His eyes were over my shoulder, and not in a forceful voice. Said, I'm really sorry about this, Mr. Wood. That was not the way he did it. And I could tell that he was not sorry. He had no remorse. I also mentioned with Hillary, that
before you go on Hillary, because what she said, I think, is extremely important. But how do you know that? I mean, have you given enough thought? I'm trying to give the president a benefit of the doubt, and I really, quite honestly, I despise this man. But let's be honest and give him the benefit of the doubt.
Anything, Glenn.
How do you? What makes you think that he? I mean, look. I have to be with a guy who just received the Congressional Medal of Honor in about an hour from now, and I have to introduce him. And I said to my staff, they said, hey, you're going to introduce this guy? And I said, why would you do that? And they said, we thought you would love that. And I said, I hate introducing these guys because I am so uncomfortable just being in front of these guys who are such heroes. Now, people will see my awkwardness around people like that, even like Marcus Luttrell or your son, and they might take it one way when really it is just that I'm so humbled by them. So what makes you think that the president just was not sorry?
demeanor, sir. Let me say something else, and I'll ask you this question. Are these the words of someone who's really sorry? The vice president was also there. He came by, and he introduced himself. This is before the president came by. He came over to our little pod of people, and he says, I'm Joe Biden. And then he said, I'm, quote, unquote, I'd received one of these, quote, damn phone calls when he had lost a family member. And then about a half hour later, he actually came over and approached me. And these are the exact words he said. I do not speak like this. Quote, says in an extremely loud and boisterous voice, he said, did your son always have balls the size of cue balls? I will ask you the question. Is that the voice of someone who is truly sorry?
I don't know. Maybe he was. I don't know.
Okay. And
okay.
I don't want to judge.
Okay.
Okay. As an administrative law judge, my job was to decide who's telling the truth and who isn't.
Okay.
But in this case, I'm not the judge.
I just want you to know, Charles, I'm not. I just want to give the benefit of the doubt to everybody.
Okay, and I would give the benefit of the doubt too. That's why I was so quiet and chose not to say anything until you made public this information.
Yes.
Regarding that.
And here's the part.
I'm conflicted about making a statement. I originally vacillated and was not going to. I talked with my wife over in Oregon this morning, and she said that it would be good for me just to write my thoughts down and to make a statement. And Glenn, if I could I just read this to you? It would take less than a minute.
Sure.
Okay. I want to honor my son, Ty Woods, who responded to the cries for help and voluntarily sacrificed his life to protect the lives of other Americans. In the last few days, it has become public knowledge that within minutes of the first bullet being fired, the White House knew that these heroes would be slaughtered if immediate air support was denied. Apparently, C-130s were ready to respond immediately. In less than an hour, the perimeters could have been secured and American lives could have been saved. After 7 hours of fighting numerically superior forces, my son's life was sacrificed because of the White House's decision. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with integrity and honor. My son was a true American hero. We need more heroes today. My son showed moral courage. This is an opportunity for the person or persons who made the decision to sacrifice my son's life to stand up. Glenn, I hope I'm not coming across too strong.
You're not. You're coming as a dad and as an American. And you know, I said earlier that your son is a hero because before we get to the Hillary Clinton thing, we have to take a break in between. But before we get to the Hillary Clinton thing, let me just explain to the American people that your son, when you said just there that your son voluntarily went and sacrificed his life, he wasn't there to protect the ambassador. That wasn't his job. He heard that something was going on, and he voluntarily by himself went to go and help. Am I mistaken?
Exactly. My understanding is he could have come home even a couple of weeks before that. He'd only seen his son for a few days. He chose to stay there because he was needed. And when he heard the cries for help at the other location, he voluntarily, without checking with the chief of staff or anyone else, he voluntarily ran through the enemy forces and protected those people in their location, even though he risked his life doing it.
Charles, this is what I have been trying to say as I've been talking about this for the last 6 weeks, that is what Americans do. We run
he was a true American hero, and we need more American heroes.
We do. Okay, if you'll hold on just a second, we have to get back to what Hillary Clinton said to you, because America, there's two things that you have to know, and it's not whether the president is sorry or anything else. It is this. They did have the live pictures. They watched this happen. And then the cover-up. They watched it happen, did nothing about it. They could have. And then the cover-up. And no matter what they're trying to say to you now, when you are standing in an airplane hangar with a casket coming home with a flag over it, and you look at the parents, what you say to them is crucial. Wait until you hear what Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said. Back in a minute.